Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I would like to call this meeting to order. Would everybody please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's nice to hear all those voices this evening. Have a roll call, Mrs. Dawson.
Harold Horn.
Here.
Trustee Connors.
Here.
Trustee Short.
Here.
Mr. Dawson. McCauley.
Here.
Trustee Champlain. Here. Trustee Kirkpatrick. Here. Superintendent Sullivan.
Here. Thank you, Mrs. Dawson. Every board member has a copy of our minutes of our previous meeting. Would there be any corrections or additions?
Make a motion when we approve the minutes from previous meeting.
I'll second that motion to approve the meetings by trustee Connor, second by trustee McCauley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried. Thank you. Well, this is the part where we usually open our board meeting to our general public. And from what I can see this evening, I believe that this is Boy Scout Troop number 37.
That's correct.
Which consists of young men from Champlain, Rouse's Point, and Morris. Very nice to have you this evening. I hope that we can enlighten you on any of the board proceedings as usually happens at a village board. Is there any concerns or any questions that you would like to ask this board at this time before we go into our regular session? Good. Well, this gives you a chance to see how your local government is actually ran. It's good that Mr. Delafrance, I read in the correspondence, assistant?
I'm an assistant scoutmaster.
Assistant Scoutsman, very nice, Ken. It's nice that we have adults in the community that do this for the young and upcoming citizens of our community. And again, it's nice to see you here this evening, boys. Would anybody at this time like to address the board? Okay, then we'll move on. Oh, yes.
What's that supposed to mean?
Pardon?
What's address supposed to mean?
If you have a concern that you would like to bring to the village board, we have the mayor and 4 trustees.
Okay.
And what it is, it's actually, if there's an issue that comes up and we have to vote on it, we all vote, which means you'll find that this is an odd number, which is 5. In other words, you can never have a tie vote. The mayor is the tiebreaker. If the trustees vote on an issue and 2 of them agree with the issue and 2 of them disagree with the issue, I myself will break the tie. Either I will agree with the issue or go with the other ones. You know, it's a forum that gives us a chance to have everybody voice their opinion. And when you come and ask, does anybody like to address the board? Usually if a person has a property concern and what have you, they usually come to a meeting, or we have written correspondence which comes here before the board, which we can try and make a decision on. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay, then, very good. So this evening, as of the mayor's report, we start with the mayor's report. And being I'm elected mayor, I get a chance to speak first. Before this board, we have had correspondence on our first-time homeowners, buyers, homeowners. At this time, I would like to be able to set a public hearing on this amendment. to take place July 13th at 7 p.m.
No, January.
January 13th. I read it and said it different. At 7 p.m. I believe all the board members have had correspondence from our attorney. Okay. And going with our wastewater treatment project, everybody was copied with a purchase requisition. As of right now, they are working on the grit pump. Is that what I'm gathering, Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
And apparently these are repairs and things they're going to be needing to reinstitute this pump.
Yeah.
Uh,
We started out with looking at replacing a whole lot more parts. It would have turned out to be about $3,258, and by trying to clean them up and renovate some pieces, we got it down to $947.10.
And in this, if I've had my discussions right, some of the controls are going to be moved from where they're existing to a more environmental safe,
More appropriate.
spot. Apparently some of our controls are in a hazardous environment, and it's detrimental to the operation of the unit. So at this time, they're going to be, when they finish rebuilding the grit pump, they're going to be moving some of these controls above the floor. This is actually where they're going to be. So in front of you this evening, we have a purchase requisition in the sum of $947.10 for various parts. Could I get a motion to approve this requisition as...
So moved.
Second.
Motion for requisition by trustee Connor, second by trustee Trombley. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried, thank you. And there's one thing that the mayor of the village of Champlain would like to say to our visiting troop, as well as the general public. At this time, I know that I'm speaking for the board, as well as all of the employees, myself. We want to wish everybody out there a very safe and happy Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. That is sincere from all the board members. And I'm hoping that we will have as good a year in 2003 as we did in 2002. And I want to take you this time to say thank you very much for your cooperation this past year with the board. Thank you again. On to the reports of trustee. Trustee Connor.
Nothing at this time. I'll address concerns during correspondence.
Okay then, thank you. Trustee Short.
The only thing I had was, I had one issue with, done an old business about Tony Fillion's property. And I went and took a visit with him, and we discussed his property. And he said he would like to table it into the spring, when there is more water lying on the property. I had explained to him that, you know, being it's its own personal property, that it's not the village's problem. But he still would like for me to see it in the spring, so I can table it to the spring.
Okay then. Now this is the issue I'm running on. Okay, so this will be tabled until spring when we have standing water. Is that it, Trustee Short?
That's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you. Trustee McCuldy.
Just one thing, for Bob. The generator, it says here that the gas is installed in the generator room and connected. Does that mean that we're ready to go on the generator, or?
Yes and no. If we had to run it, we could, and we could get electricity out of it. The automatic switching gear has some kind of a problem with the PCL, the PCU that's in there, the
The PLC.
PLC.
Yeah,
That's-
PLC.
You know, I'll get to it one of these days. And they brought out 2 boards, and they didn't work. And I guess it's a problem with the software.
So in other words, excuse me, Trustee McCully. So in other words, what you're saying is they are gonna go good for this.
That is not an operating unit.
That's
As
right.
far as I'm concerned
Yeah,
at this
it's-
moment.
It hasn't really been turned over to us
It hasn't
yet.
been turned over to us. It's installed, but it's not ours.
The other question I had on that is, have we written up any preventive maintenance procedure on that yet?
No, I'd like to put that on that same program that we've got the rest of them on. That's okay with you. We should get
Yeah, that's
some
fine.
correspondence coming back from Kinsley, incorporating all of them into one bundle.
We have manuals and stuff.
Yes.
We can go over the
About
manuals.
99% of it is, I mean, my guys know how to run it and know what to do, but with all these electronic doohickeys, if you want to call them that.
Well, they should have a recommended spare parts list in with the manual. Might want to take a look at that. There's not?
No.
We need to look
Keep
into
your
that.
hands off.
We need to look into that, though.
Yeah, there's really not a lot of spare parts.
All right. That's all for me.
Okay.
Well, thank you. And I just want to go a little further on for Trustee McCully. We are talking about a portable generator for this facility. We had a severe ice storm 4 years ago that crippled the North Country. We, as a village, have put generators at our wastewater treatment plant, at our water plant. And we applied for a grant, and we got a grant to put a generator at this facility in hopes that if we ever need to use it, we'll have it. More young men. So they come right up front. So in other words, what Trustee McCauley was asking about was the generator that was being installed in back. It's not quite up to date, but we will, I'm sure it will be done. It's unusual, yes, but I will open this up, yes.
What's your name?
My name?
Yeah,
Robert Sullivan.
Superintendent Sullivan.
okay. Some of the kids are trying to write down everybody's name.
Oh, well, it's, this is not a problem. We could have everybody actually say who they are and what their position is. Yes,
Oh, me?
yes.
Well, I don't really totally understand, but I know you're the mayor, and like, are the trustee people who help you out, or like people who give you advice and stuff?
Oh, well, the trustee people are people that are elected by the residents of the village. And each board member has specific duties that they have to take care of. We have like a recreation committee, we have a water and sewer committee, we have a street committee, and each one of these individuals are a chairperson and an assistant to each one of these committees. So what happens is, they all themselves have, and like Trustee Connor right here, he is deputy mayor. In my absence, he runs the meeting. So every trustee here has a certain area that they work on. and as we all work together as one unit. Yes, I can ask them if they would look at something above and beyond whatever their assigned duties are, and they would do that. That's one of the things about being mayor. You get to do that. Whether it's good or bad, doesn't make it, but it is an option. But we all are the same. I spoke before saying that when issues were brought up for a vote, that's why we had an odd number, a 5-member board. We will never have a tie. The mayor is a tiebreaker. I stated before, if 2 were yes and 2 were no, I get to make the decision, either it'd be no or it'd be yes. Does that answer your question? I hope it does.
Yeah.
So at this time, before we go on to Trustee Trombley's report, I'll be asking him, I would like everyone around here to actually state their name and their position, starting with Robert.
Robert Sullivan, I'm Superintendent of Public Works and the Codes Enforcement Officer for the village.
That way you'll all get to know. Donna?
Donna Barcombe, I'm the deputy clerk. Janice Dawson, clerk treasurer of the village.
Kim Trombley, trustee.
Francis McCauley, trustee.
Albert Laporte, mayor.
Charles Connor, trustee.
Scott Short, trustee.
This way it gives you an idea of knowing these are the people that do the correspondence from all these ladies over here are very instrumental in the village. They take care of all the correspondence that comes from wherever. Anything that we need done as a board member or whatever, we ask these nice ladies over here, and they usually are very, very good to help us. Because like all of us up here, we all work, we all got jobs. So this is, you know, there's none of us retired here that can spend 8 hours a day. We all have other jobs that we do, so we rely on these people immensely to get us the information that we need so we can try and make concise decisions on some of the issues that might come before the board. So now, does everybody have an understanding of what everybody is?
I have one more question.
Yes.
What would be like the main, like what was the worst thing you ever had to do?
Oh my. Well, I think what's going to have to happen is in any organization as you grow up, and I'm just going to put it in a general term, before this, before me being the mayor of the village, I was a trustee, and before then I was the fire chief of the Champlain Fire Department for 3 years. I was assistant chief for 3 years before that. The only thing that ever happens when you are in a leadership position, sometimes the word disciplinary action comes into place, and that is probably one of the hardest jobs any official will have to do. Reprimand and disciplinary action. It's a part of your job when you're an administrator of whatever you are, to sometimes you have to discipline people. Discipline is not a good job. It's not a fun job, but it is a job that has to be done. So when you ask me what is the worst job that I've ever had to do, was to discipline somebody or to get rid of somebody. That is probably the hardest job any administrator is going to have. Does that answer your question? Anybody else this evening? We're going to get on to our trustee. One more, Don. Would you wait on me one more?
Sure, go ahead.
I mean,
I'm
I'd like to get through. We have some young men here this evening.
Go ahead.
Fantastic to have them here.
Yeah.
They're putting me on the spot, but it's fantastic to have them here. Okay.
Good to be put on the spot.
Yes, it is. I'm sorry, Trustee Trombley, would there be any report this evening?
All I wanted to know is, did West Brothers start today on the construction? They did? And just a note to the crew that I see the Christmas lights are up.
Yes, some of them are not lit because the power company hasn't
Mm-hmm.
come to do that yet. There are some that will have to be removed and relocated in different places because the location was unacceptable to power company.
So they look very nice.
Thank you. Pass it on.
That'll be it this evening, Trustee Thompson. Thank you very much. Oh. I think my whole agenda has just been, really actually been thrown around this evening. Would you like to address the board now, Dr. John?
Thank you.
It's out of realm, but since you're here, yes, I would like you to.
No, I don't want to mess up your you know.
It's not a problem, no. We will do just fine, we will do just fine.
Okay, John Southwick representing the Champlain Fire District. I'd like to address first a letter that was sent out, I believe, 2-3 weeks ago, suggesting that as a private concern, the village, being a municipality, could not provide snow plowing service to the fire department. Today, I saw reference to another letter that suggested, since we are, the fire district is a form of a municipality, that municipality can exchange services. And I'd like to know what that means, and if we could look at the snow plowing.
I myself was hoping you'd be here this evening. As I stated earlier, it's hard for me on an issue that involves the fire department because I myself at one time was very, very involved with it.
I know. And let me tell you before, I'm sorry, not to interrupt, but let me tell you, the village board, and the clerk, particularly, have been very, very supportive of our venture. And we have nothing but praise for what you have done to help us, because we're an infant, starting to grow, and we appreciated the help so far.
Thank you, because that's the way I feel about the whole thing. So I have a hard time with some of the issues that come out of it, because I myself think the community would be devastated without it. And as far as I'm concerned, whatever support that I could lend to it, I would lend to it. But I, being one board member, do have other people to address. As you were saying, literature has come from the state because it was a concern. There is literature that has come from the state that says no, and then there's some conflicting literature that has come back from NICOM that says that has recognized a fire district as another so-called municipality, which is again another taxpayers funded venture, just as long as the village. The correspondence that I've read today and that I've had discussions with on say that it can be done. Is it recommended? No. But at that choice, that is again a village board choice. Has anybody else read any of that
Can I
correspondence?
just answer or add something to that? We have on our board, I think, some very frugal-minded people and we've drawn up a budget that's pretty specific, it gives us a reserve for an ongoing 10-year plan that our fire department has very well placed in our hands. And this, at least this year, kind of would draw, I mean, it is a great expense, but we have gone out to bid, and there's a wide range of bids, people that are willing to do the job. So it's going to put a little extra pressure on us this year. So if you can see fit, that would be a great help to the fire district. But I realize what you were saying, so go ahead.
Because any decision, and as I was saying to these young gentlemen this evening, any decision that we make, we actually do a lot of research on it. We try not to make any decision without having some knowledge of where we're going. So it's a tough decision. I myself think that we are going to be discussing this, but until things do change, I'm sure that Superintendent Sullivan will be continuing his services at the fire station until further notice. This is not to say that we would not do it, okay?
I love double negatives. I was brought up in this community like you were, and I love double negatives, so go on.
I think at this time, it's an issue that we're looking at. There's some discussion between the board members that need to be done. You know, I'm telling you that we will do what we have to do to try and make sure that this emergency people can serve the community as a whole. I would think it'd be very small of us not to.
Can I ask Mr. Sullivan one question?
Yes, you can.
Does the fire department in any way, the fire people in any way cause a problem? Or is there any particular thing that they can do to help out that they haven't done or should be willing to do?
Well, we come in and plow the place out as best we can. We can't get right up to the doors, and we know this, and there are little nickel dime things like that the fire department can do to help themselves. We generally get the passageways so that all the vehicles can move. That's not a big issue. I think once in a while there's a little conflict of personalities, but I think we have to get by that.
As long as there are two people on this earth.
There's going to be a conflict.
Yeah.
Yes.
But and my thought is, and I just wrote it down, maybe we need to maybe I would need to meet with the fire district.
Cordially invited, a week from tomorrow night, 7 o'clock at the town. Our meetings are always the third Tuesday of the month, 7 p.m. And every and all are invited. We don't have much of a turnout. We'd like
Oh no,
to
well
see more people there.
this is why I was really.
Even your group here.
Oh,
you know,
I'm saying to myself, this is fantastic. You don't know, it really is.
Yeah, I think
Because
so.
we're always alone, and it makes me feel loved. Yes.
I just want to give some thoughts that I have. I know it wasn't really discussed at a meeting. It was kind of off-the-cuff discussion after our last meeting, discussing the plowing of the fire station. And Chief Trombley happened to show up after the meeting. We discussed it a little bit. At that point, we were kind of told that it's something the village shouldn't be doing. It's not legal. We did receive the correspondence which you referenced. I think all of us saw it when we came in tonight because it was put in our mailboxes, so we really haven't had a lot of chance to read through it. certainly, we're open to assist and, maybe getting through your budget year this year. But if you can try and get that into your budget for next year, because I think, the way I'm looking at it, it's not a negative towards the fire department, but as the village residents are paying taxes for fire protection. And, I would think that they think that that's part of that as compared to the village expending their time and effort doing that. That's just, observations, that's all. I'm trying to look at it one way as compared to another, as a village resident, as compared to, a town fire district. I know that discussion's come up.
Yes, Ken?
If I could contribute, I mean, that, a little bit, one thing I would think is certainly they're a different tax entity and need to carry their own, and we're in a special situation. There's one community that, beyond a shadow of a doubt, pulls together and helps each other out. I know the town and the village have done shared services things, but maybe another wall to throw into this queue is in the event that, for instance, they do get themselves something set up on a permanent basis that isn't maybe with the village, that something still be in place in the event of an emergency type situation where their contractor or whatever fails, then that the village can at least make sure that people in the fire district are taken care of, because we all want our houses not to burn.
Thank you. And this is from a taxpayer of the village as well. That's the concern that I have. Okay, Doc?
So ongoing plowing
We'll
will
continue.
continue,
Yes, it will.
and you'll
It will continue.
and give us.
It will
some proper
continue
notice.
until I tell you it doesn't continue. Okay.
Okay.
This is where, this is why I think we need this meeting with the fire district, because our fire chief, and I do say our fire chief, brought that in, and that was at his suggestion that this was done. Okay?
That what was done?
You got the letter.
Oh, okay,
That was his suggestion.
okay.
So that's why we need a meeting.
Thank you for your time, and
Oh,
I'll see
thank
you
you.
hopefully at our meeting a week from tomorrow night,
Week from tomorrow night.
okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye now.
See you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, on to further business. Oh, excuse me.
I was wondering what happened about, Bill Siebert? They suggested to make a bike park here.
Oh my. Well, you're gonna be here. You're here for this evening, huh?
Yeah.
Well, if you just hang on, I think we've got something coming up in old business that you might be interested in. Okay?
All right.
Thank you. A report of clerk treasurer?
I've copied each of you with the revenue and expenditure report for the month of November. November is halfway through our year. I have earmarked any account that should be considered, looked at. Have any questions, either give me a call or Bob.
That's the one with the pretty little asterisk line?
That's the one.
There's two of them. Well, two of them in general.
Done all general water and sewer. The others you can tell by the percentage of what is coming close, but those are just ones that might have a problem. If you have any questions, just give me a call. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Treasurer. Report of our superintendent, Mr. Sullivan.
You have my written report. Are there any questions on my written report?
For you troop members, Superintendent Robert Sullivan. Superintendent Robert Sullivan actually gets to put the work crews out in the whole village for whatever job needs to be done. If we have a busted water pipe or a sewer line, or we have a road problem, a street problem, flooding problem, whatever problem exists in the village, this is the man that puts the work crews out and tries to correct the problems. So his report is probably one of the biggest reports of our board meeting, because what he has done with our work crew for that 30 days has more or less summarized it in his work report. Okay? If there's questions that come up during his report, he either contacts one of the trustees or myself. I talk with him quite frequently during the month for sometimes some decisions that need to be made. So his report is really vital to the village because he is here every day working 40, 45 hours a week to oversee the whole village for the residents as well as the trustees. So I call his the meats and potatoes report. So he's the fellow that we like to pick on the most. Okay, because he's actually the one that does the most for the village. So when he brings up this report, I keep saying every month, I can't wait to get to his report because this is the one that usually somebody will say, okay, well, what about this, what about that, you know, to keep up with what's actually happening in the community. So I usually say, this is the report I want to get to. It really hasn't been bad because the village has been really quite quiet. So it's really good this month. So for all of you people, this is the man that governs all of the workers in the village. So he is actually, he's the boss of all the people in the village. All of the employees. Yes.
Okay, well, if that's the case, like, what do you do? I mean...
You know, I'm gonna answer your question because I was asked that same thing last Friday by an adult. An adult says to me, which is a taxpayer in the village, says to me, well, what do you do in the village? I said, well, I pay taxes like you do. I'm a village resident. I own property in the north end of town, so I pay taxes. I'm like you. No, I mean, for being mayor, I see Bob Sullivan doing all this stuff around on the streets. I said, you're right. That's what we pay him for. That's why he's the superintendent. He's the superintendent which takes care of the village. That is his full-time job. Well, what's your job? I said, my job is to tell him what he can do and what he can't. So, I'm telling you, my job is to tell him what he can do and what he can't, as long as the rest of the board members here. So this is what I told this adult last Friday at where I work at Wyatt Pharmaceuticals. He does the work, but we tell him what he can do. I've got a good job, eh? I don't have to get my hands dirty. Does that answer your question? Put me on the spot tonight, boy, I'll tell you that. I love it. I said tonight, Pepto. You know what? I have 7 grandchildren, and they will come up with really funniest questions that I really ever heard, you know. But they have an imagination. And guess what? This is what this country was made of. Okay? So I believe in it. I like your questions. Is there any questions for Superintendent Sullivan?
Yeah, of course.
Huh?
Of course.
I know there is.
Okay, I actually got a few. The first thing is, you were able, after all the snow we had melted, we were able to pick up the bags of leaves.
Yes, we were.
What about, I just have a question on the brush or whatever was left that didn't get picked up. Is that going to stay there through the winter, or?
If I missed some, tell me where we've missed it, and I'll go get
You
it.
haven't got to go too far.
All right. Okay. That's
The leaves
an
were picked up.
oversight on our part.
Okay, and I haven't been throughout the whole village, but I'm sure there's probably more. I don't know.
We're doing meter readings right now, but later in the week it's supposed to get a little warmer, so if anything's stuck down,
Right.
it'll be unstuck. You want to ask another question? Or-
Yes.
Okay.
In reference to SEMO, the mitigation application,
Yes.
of that 25% match, is that something that we physically can do things as compared to dollars?
On almost every other job we've ever done with SEMO and FEMA money, we have been able to, and I might be able to work some of it. Most of this will be a contract. This is way over our head, literally as well as,
Yeah, I know what you're saying. But
Yeah.
I would think that there is services that we can provide.
I'm sure there are, you know, like, towards the other end of the project, if and when this takes place, the landscaping and stuff like this, we can knock off a contract, and that will be in-kind money. That can be done as in-kind money.
Because I think that's the only way we could probably agree to doing something like this, is if we can physically do work as compared to have to pay a lot of money.
I think what's happening with this whole thing is I've been in pretty close correspondence with Robert on this. What happens is the work area that we have to get to is beyond our ability.
I understand.
We're about 30 feet in the ground. See, we can't do that. We have none of the equipment to do this. And I'm a great believer in if we can do it and expedite it and help the cost of it, fine. But I just don't know how we would do this. It's beyond our ability. And that's what makes it so expensive.
Well, I understand.
Okay.
That's not my question. I think there's some things that we can do to assist. to-
Because we're looking at
for our
probably a
percentage.
$500,000 project here.
I need to continue on this though. In the process of doing this application, they ask you for 3 options. And do nothing is not one of the options. So I've come up with 3 options. This is the middle of the road option cost-wise. It's a distinct possibility that this project could go for even more money than that. I was in touch with the State Department of Transportation trying to find out which particular study they used when they put the culvert in down here across Main Street. Now, it could have been a by the seat of your pants job done that they said this will work and this is the size we're going to do, or they may have used some modeling program for hydraulic analysis.
It obviously didn't work the first time around.
Well, the first time had a somewhat similar situation as to what we have right now on the other end. They put a 5-foot diameter pipe in. The pipe that we have on this end is 30 inches in diameter. That's half the diameter and 4 pipe sizes different. 4 volume sizes different. So it made me scratch my head and say, uh-oh. And I don't know what they're going to approve. I would not like to have to go the distance for the new pipe that whole run. But that might be the suggested method. You've got to be aware of it.
You see, we have a lot of issues. We have a lot of drainage. Over the years, when people have built and built and built, we actually lose our natural drainage. So what's happening is, the farther you build out, the more it ends making its own sluiceway, so the more water that we get down here, instead of it just naturally sinking into the ground. So over the years, the hydraulics, the more water that we're getting, the bigger area we've got to do to try to dissipate this. And what's happening now is we're getting so much more and so little pipe that this is where we're creating our problem on Pine Street.
Could be a multitude of reasons. I
You know,
can't
this is
see
just
through
one.
the ground, I wish I could. We had an excavator or something and might be able to excavate around that. I would almost assure that besides learning something, we'd probably make more of a mess than we already have. Something's gotta You gotta do something
Oh,
there.
I didn't suggest us doing,
Yeah.
you know that.
No, I'm just,
I'm just suggesting that we, as part of our percentage that we need to supply for this mitigation, that we can assist in some way.
some way to reduce the
Because we certainly don't have the dollars
outright cost.
to pay for it.
So, I mean, I don't wanna sneak something up on you and say, well, you didn't tell me this. And before I send the application in, which is due by the last day of this month, I would hope that everybody, I'll try to get in touch with you all so you can read it.
Now, is this binding, if we do put in this application, is it binding that we have to do it? If it's approved?
If it's approved, yes.
Because there was mention of possibly a grant as compared to,
There's, yeah. The odds of this getting a mitigation grant are highly unlikely. There's the particular FEMA number or project that caused this, or the thing that caused it, only has a $415,000 max funding available to it. Hopefully, the federal government, FEMA, will see fit to be able to do a 404 hazard repair cost, we call it, and that will change the whole outlook. Then it will be just about all funded.
The thing of it is, it's a situation where we actually need to do something. Do we have the time to really investigate it?
oh, I agree, we have to do something, there's no question about that.
So-
And I think this is something that we certainly have to move forward with.
But again, we don't want to be force-fed.
No,
Okay, that's my thing.
but I'll get back to you as soon as I know what. And I really want you, if we can sit down and read it,
Well, that's why I said, until we get all the information and you bring it
as
forward.
much as I have available to me.
Right, we will not do anything with it until that time.
You also have, we discussed the drainage or the spouts off the building, and you have a quote.
Right.
Now, it's a little bit on the confusing side if you look at it, and the front, the one that has the letterhead, the whole building, seamless gutters would cost $672, pardon me. To do just the front of the building would be $336. The second page is the soffits and fascias, which are rotted and probably, that's part of our problem. They're not gonna stay up there much longer. You can just do the front of the office building for $550, or do the whole building for $1,900.
My thing is, why put up seamless gutters if it's isn't gonna stay?
Oh, there'd be no reason, right?
You
I
know,
wouldn't,
what, my thing is that the facial and soffits needs to be done. We need to do that before we put seamless gutters up.
well, it don't get done at the same time.
Right, but I'm just saying, why even bother trying to put up a seamless gutter if you haven't got anything to adhere to, you know? That itself cannot be a budget line item for next year. That needs to be done ASAP. Now, are we looking at a liability on this? My
Only
thing
from the
is,
standpoint of getting icy out there, and we generally can keep it pretty well salted so that
well, that was my
it's not
suggestion.
Panic City, really.
Right. My suggestion was that we have the village workers put salt there at this time for now, because I can't, unless we can come with a windfall somewhere, I can't see where we can come up with this. My suggestion was that we get this and use this as a budget item for our next budget process. I, at this time, would like to be able to table this for now.
Now, you are going on this, we gotta go back to SAMO again, because I need some kind of a vote if we're going to put it in, it has to be done at a public hearing, at public meeting. So I don't know, that's why I said, I put it in capitals here, this requires village match 25%, it costs the village as much as $125,000, and a vote must be taken before the application can be sent. And the deadline is, it says here, December 31st. They never give me much time on these, you don't get 2 or 3 months, you get X number of days and that's it.
So this is what probably Troop 37 is going to be interested in. Superintendent Sullivan has just asked the board. We have quite a project out in our village complex. We're having a drainage problem, and we actually have somewhat of a pipe that has collapsed a little bit. It's beyond where we can go with our own village equipment and our own crew. It's beyond where we can reach. So, what Mr. Sullivan has been doing, he has been looking for a mitigation grant to try and see if they can help us repair this situation. Apparently, this situation with just a ballpark figure is running $500,000 or around $500,000. Okay? Yeah. This is a small community. We are talking a lot of feet of pipe, which will run from Pine Street, which will run all the way to the river, Great Chazy River, under Route 9.
To Main Street.
Pardon?
Main Street.
Yeah, under Route 9. Right. Well, it'll actually go that far. But what he is saying is, before the application can go in, we as a village entity have to say to them, yes, we will be responsible for 25% of this. So 25% of 500,000 is $125,000. And that is just a guess. That is not a correct figure at this time. I'll be with you in a minute. So what he's saying is, he needs the approval from the board to continue with this application. So he's asking us if we want to vote on this so he can continue with it. So what we have to try and come up with is agree, could we come up with $125,000? Do we have to go to an old interest loan? Do we have to go to bond? What will this little community be able to do? So we're asked to make a decision that we really don't have an answer to yet. Because we don't know if we can get the funding. But once we commit ourselves to it, and we do get it, we have to have the funding. So this is a decision where all of us here, as a board, have to vote. It's not to be complicated, it's just to say, are we going to give this individual, this again is, are we going to let Mr. Sullivan continue? So when you ask, what do I do? This is one of the things that we do. He does the work, but we actually let him know if he can do it or not.
Look, I don't think we have any choice. We have to do something.
Yes, we do.
And that's why I referenced earlier what we can do to cut the cost of this 25% that we are responsible for, to lower that. So that's all I had said before, knowing that it does have to be voted on at tonight's meeting and have to be responded to CMO by the 31st of
By
December.
the 31st of December, in which we will not have a meeting until January.
If they hold true to form, let's say they say yes, you're gonna get the grant, that'll take them about 3 to 4 months.
So we won't know for 3 to 4 months.
Normally, that's it. Sometimes more,
We
sometimes
wouldn't know
less.
anyways. See, this is, all this is doing is saying, okay, we need to have this done to get it in for this time limit.
And then they give me a length of time to do it. I've got to try to figure out a work schedule. The other thing is to try to drum up some other forms of funding. And if any of it is federal, that has to be, or comes from any part of public monies, it has to be, I have to describe where it's coming from. One other thing that I put in the grant was that if we had to, we'd probably have to go up to bond. That would have to happen. And that would not even start to take place until after their approval.
Right.
They give you, they don't like that. They want you to have the money up front. Well,
You can't get a bond without having.
having a project.
That's right.
And it's a catch-22 the way they work it.
So I think we've all been through this as far as our downstreet buyout, so we pretty well know what's going on. So I think with any further ado, either we are going to let him finish up his letter of intent for mitigation grant program, or we're not.
I think we should.
Okay, I want to take a roll call vote on that this evening. The intention to this vote is for Superintendent Sullivan to continue with our letter of intent for our hazardous mitigation grant. Trustee Short, how do you vote? Yes. Trustee Connor?
Yes.
Trustee Trombley?
No.
Trustee McCulty?
Yes.
And C, I don't have to vote. As of right now, we have 3 yes and 1 no. So Superintendent Sullivan has the okay to go along with his grant application. You have the okay. There's a young fellow in the back that's been raising his hand. Yes.
Okay, so what he's asking for is for a pipe to go along the town, and that's gonna cost us $125,000.
It's gonna cost the village taxpayers, and it's actually a piece of pipe that goes in the gully that's between this street and St. Mary's Academy. It's gonna be coming from Pine Street, which is over here, right down through this lot in the back, right by St. Mary's Academy, right straight down through, and it's gonna be coming out where Route 9 is and going into Great Cheesy River, which that feeds all of the water that comes from Route 11, South Street,
What about my house?
right by Trustee Short's house, all the way down through.
It comes all the way from the interstate,
It actually comes all the way to the
Yeah,
interstate.
about 2/3 of the way.
So that's-
to Shazy.
We are trying to get this water problem to recede and go away. And the way it's set up now, it doesn't. And it jeopardizes homeowners that are up on that end flooding their property and their basements and what have you. Okay? Yes.
I just have one question. What would you have voted on?
What would I have voted on?
Yeah.
You want to know what I would have? I would have voted yes. Okay. I would have voted yes because we have to look at the property owners that are in line with the problem that this is creating. Yes, I would have voted yes.
So everything that's gonna happen is gonna correct.
Yes, it will correct, I would believe 95% of it. Yeah, there's some mother nature that you're never gonna correct. Like the ice storm, the flooding of '96. There are things that mother nature that will throw at anyone that we cannot correct. But if there's something that we can do to help the situation, we as board of the village should try to do it within our means. And there's a lot of projects that we'd like to do, but they're not. Okay. Anything else for Superintendent Sullivan?
Well, I know we discussed this before, but is there, because of the nature of where all this water is coming from and because of the nature of the interstate being built and other properties building up and things that cause a lot of this problem? Because it didn't exist before, several years ago. I mean, there was water that flowed through there, but not the volume that does now.
Not to the extent.
Is there any
Sure.
route that
That's,
we could go?
that's kind of the reason why some of the routes that I'm trying to take to look for funding.
Right, and I think that's probably what we have to look at.
I've been in touch with some of our federal legislators as well. Try to drum up some support.
That's it.
Anything else for Superintendent Sullivan this evening? We move on to correspondence.
Item 1 in correspondence is correspondence and catalog from Plattsburgh North Country Chamber of Commerce regarding various seminars they are offering for the village group.
We'll just keep this file for future reference and things.
I think we have some that are coming up. December 3rd there's one December 6th, and there's another one on the 17th of December, another on January 9th. I don't know if 23rd. I think we're going to fall on plans to...
I think what usually happens is Superintendent Sullivan figures out which one would be beneficial to our contact hours and what have you.
There will be no contact hours on this.
There will be no contact hours on this one?
I don't think so. Plus I can drum up something from the Department of Health,
Right, okay.
DEC. Maybe.
Because I know we're into our safety training, we set up our safety program. Okay, then I think,
If you decide to set someone, how will the funding be taken care of to pay for that?
We want in the budget.
we don't have any money left in our schooling budget,
But it has to be approved.
Has to be approved.
but it won't. Is there gonna be any classes before our next meeting?
December 17th.
I don't know.
Well, I think we're getting, if
We're
we're
getting-
getting December too close to the holidays, that we probably need our staff here unless it's something crucial that they should be attending.
I think our December training.
I think this should have been thought of before this, if there was something that you wanted to actually attend.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't get it till November 15th.
You could have put every question in there.
Oh.
And we'll just wait for the January meeting on that.
Right. I would.
Item 2 is correspondence from Mrs. Campbell Brown regarding Assembly Bill A2580, AKA Penny's Law.
I've read this over, and I see in the back of this, it's all law enforcement agencies. It's all law enforcement agencies that are doing this, Penny's Law supporters. Do we want to, it says to the list of agencies, do we want to do the Village of Champlain? Shell, Sheriff's Department, Police Departments, they're all law enforcement agencies. No,
Table.
table.
Item 3 is correspondence from the town of Champlain requesting water sewer information, various information.
Have we sent this or compiled?
I don't believe it's completed yet.
Well, some of this, the GSA requested information, sent a letter of request for information, which I fulfilled, and they've been appropriately billed. Prints that I had to have copied, but the rest of it hasn't.
But like, discussion with Superintendent Sullivan, they should have all this information anyway. It's not like it's a secret.
No.
But
Item 4 is a memo from Deputy Clerk Sparkman and all the responses regarding the NICEAG supplier charge. And as you'll know, we notified 15 different supplier lists, and you can copy the results that we
Right.
get.
And that is, we are binding with NICEAG Solutions right now until March.
Yes.
And I see from reading it that we can, at that time, change if we need to.
I guess we can table it.
We can table this, yeah. Table that.
Item 5 is notice of annual rate adjustment letter from the Time Warner Cable.
See this every year. Every year they keep increasing our rates and our hands are tied. It's just a shame that the cost of cable keeps going up and we have nothing to say about it.
Thank you, Trustee Connor.
Item 6 is correspondence from PERMA regarding changes to the bylaws, program agreement, and coverage agreement, which will need the mayor's signature.
And see, by the way, I get to sign some important papers too. So, yes, young man, I do get to do something. Yes, may I help
Do
you?
you have to write up any reports or have a lot of paperwork to do?
We usually, as a rule, the clerks usually we all have a separate slot in the back for the trustees. Trustee Trombley, I have with all of us, and the mayor's got one. And we usually come in and pick up our correspondence through the month so that we can review our correspondence. And the last week of the month, before our meeting, they make an agenda for us. So all correspondence that comes through, that's pertinent. So we get an agenda like so, stating our correspondence and what it is. It gives us a chance to review it, and any questions that we want to have, I usually put down a pad and I do some more. So I get to do homework too before I even come to a board meeting.
So there's a catch.
So I get to do some reading and do some homework. Sometimes I'll call pertinent individuals and see, get some information, so that when we get here at a board meeting, we usually know what's going on. That's a luxury, but sometimes we get things that are unexpected.
But we had a letter that you guys were coming.
Yeah, so we knew you were coming, okay, so. Matter of fact, I buried that right here underneath my notes. See, I knew that you were coming, so I was all ready. I took plenty of nerve pills to make sure that I got one more, before we go, I got one little fellow over there.
Does that mean the most difficult part of your job is election?
You know, election is coming up. It's a good thing that you brought that up. We have election coming up this year. Matter of fact, myself, I am running for mayor again in March. And there's going to be 2 board members that are going to run for election this year. A hard part running for office, I wouldn't say that's a hard part. If people want you, they will vote for you. Like myself, if I plan to run, I have to go out and get signatures on a petition for re-election so that I can be on the ballot.
Yeah, clown elections.
Yeah.
I ran.
So, I don't know if I want to. The hard part is trying to serve the people. Election is, if they want you, they will put you in with just, no, that's not a hard job. The people out there make up your mind. Either they vote for you or they don't. And if they don't vote for you, then you don't hold the position. No, you don't yell at them. Everybody is their own being, has their own thoughts. There's some people that like to yell at. Maybe we continue?
The permit letter, number 6, will be signing that.
Yes.
Okay, that should be noted.
Would you like me to sign that right now?
No, just as long as they haven't noted it in.
Okay, I-
7 is local law relative to the first-time homeowners exemption, and that's already been addressed.
Right. Okay.
That's all I have, so.
Now we get to go to the second page. See, what usually happens is after our correspondence, we have other issues that come up, like we have old business. This will be next on our agenda. And number 1, our old business is Mr. Tony Trino.
Which I took care of.
And Trustee Short had already made on his report, and he'd already taken care of this on old business. Number 2, we have zoning law changes. The village has gone through an extensive zoning law change. It's not in place yet. We're waiting for more correspondence on it, so we have to table this because we haven't got all our information back. And then number 3 was on taxes on a downtown property. We haven't got all our information back on that yet, so that's another issue that we have to table. Why it's under old business is because we haven't settled it as of yet. And until we get the information we need, we can't. So when I say I table it, this again will come up on next month's old business. And number 4, BMX park proposal. Seems to me there was a young individual that mentioned something about that, and there he is back there, about BMX park. We, as a village board, have done extensive research on this. Trustee Mercaldi has probably been the one that has done the most on it. Again, when this whole thing was brought before the village board, my intention to the 3 individuals were, insurance will make it or break it. Liability insurance. And if your parents are working anywhere, they know more about insurance than I need to explain to you. Insurance cost, the county is finding it very expensive. Any municipality, any business is finding that insurance rates are astronomical. And what's happening, and it's coming up, is most people pay for their employees' insurance. Now it's coming to the point where you will probably be responsible for 25% of that cost, so you yourself will have to pay some of it. So I think what's happening with this whole BMX park is we haven't got a way around the liability. Is that just about?
Yeah, a lot of questions were asked to our insurance carrier, our lawyer, and Bob did a lot of asking as well about what we could do to get around the liability issue. What came out of it, most importantly, was we were told the more we try to make this park, or the more we do to make this park, we become more responsible as a municipality for the liability if anybody gets hurt. And that means probably big insurance costs for the village. As far as, we also applied for a loan for the park that was turned down. So we don't even have the money to start making the park. But more importantly, it is the liability issue that we're kind of stuck on. We can't ask the whole village to take on $10,000 or $15,000 worth of liability insurance every year for BMX park if not everybody wants the park to go through. Yes.
And I think, like in Rouse's Point, there's a big success there, like the rec part.
Mm-hmm.
If, like, we can make something like that up here, one big part, but we would have to find a place and the money to do it though. That would be good, you know, better than just a BMX park, because, I don't know, most people don't ride BMX bikes and stuff, and adults can bring little children to,
See, that,
you know what I mean?
that is the issue that I was talking about, is that not everybody rides a bike or has the interest that some of the kids do in the BMX park, so we can't be asking the whole entire village to pay for that. As far as Rouse's Point and their facility in Rouse's Point, that is a large facility, and it took a lot of money to make that facility, but there are a lot of people in Rouse's Point, a lot more money, revenue in Rouse's Point versus the village of Champlain. Yeah.
Well, about your point that not everybody uses BMX bikes, and that, like, you can't ask everybody to pay for it.
That's right.
That's why we have a democracy, and that's why we vote, because some people don't agree with it, and if the majority votes on it, then
That's correct.
that's what happens.
So what are you saying we should do?
Well, I don't know, maybe we should have a vote on it.
No. Then you would have to ask for a public hearing,
And that's,
because that's where all the people in the whole village that's interested in it, not interested in it, you have to make a public knowledge that this is gonna go on. You have to put it in the paper, you have to go out to the public and let them know that this is gonna happen. This is where we have to tell everybody, not just the people in this room.
I think there's certain things that we have to do with that. I suggested that maybe we needed to put it on the ballot, but apparently there are other things that need to happen before that. So, and you're right, it needs to be a vote, but there's probably a lot of things that need to be researched, and as far as us saying that we're not gonna do a BMX park, I don't think there's anybody on this board that has said that yet. You know, we are still looking for alternatives, and as Trustee McCauley says, the less that we do, the better off we are.
let me just
So
say,
if there's an organization that would like to undertake this endeavor, the less we do, the less we're liable for.
let me just say that's probably, his question was probably the best question tonight, because, like he said, we are supposed to be a democracy, and like I said in last week's meeting, we need to hear from the village, the people of the village, and see what their thoughts are on this, and, you know, who does really want this BMX park and who does not.
I just got a question. Is this like town hall, like the part of only the village of Champlain? Because when I think about it, Champlain's much bigger than West Point, the whole thing. Because because where I live, I live past McDonald's, past down that way.
Okay.
That's still part of Champlain,
It's
isn't it?
town of
That's
Champlain,
the town.
or the village of Champlain.
Oh.
Like the village
That's
of
what I was
Rouse's
wondering.
Point.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
There's separate entities, there's 3 municipal governments within the town of Champlain. You have the village of Rouse's Point, you have the village of Champlain, and the town of Champlain.
And that's like,
But the village of Rouse's Point is in the township of Champlain, as well as the village of Champlain is in the township of Champlain. So the township of Champlain covers the village of Rouse's Point and the village of Champlain. Okay.
yep.
BMX park. New business, would there be any new business before this board this evening?
I still have one old business that I thought of.
Oh, okay.
And it's not that it's on our old business agenda, but it's something I thought of, and I really couldn't remember where it stood. Remember we had discussions months ago about the software for mapping our utilities? Did you ever do anything with that?
Absolutely.
Weren't we waiting for something?
I brought a whole bunch of stuff forth on the art view and all that, but we also had an offer from Champlain. One of the executives at Champlain Telephone was going to put everything on their computer and we could use it as a
That was-
read-only.
That was gonna be an overlap, right?
Yeah,
Keep overlap.
yeah.
Okay.
That's where I
And
thought
we
it
haven't-
was.
So I didn't hear about this, that piece of it, that list.
Because in one page, it would have like all the phone ground line systems in. Next page would have all of the sewer line. Apparently, it's supposed to be like an overlap map, so each one of them would give you different areas. I
Show
believe
you all
that's
of
where
the
they're going.
veins.
Right. But I think that's still in CTC sense?
Yes,
Yes, it is.
that's,
Something I just remembered that we discussed, and I remember it, okay.
that's good, that's,
Trustee Dawson. Treasurer Dawson.
It was mentioned earlier in the meeting about the gutters and the spouts out front, and we were notified it was a hazardous condition. We addressed it, and then we're going to solve it
Right.
for the safe. I just thought I should mention, we're only talking $500. We have a contingency account of $2,300 in it that could be used for that if you'd like to do some repairs. And we also have a fund balance if you want to do the whole thing, or if you want to use either of those accounts to do it. And my concern is it's collection January. A lot of people come in and out of this building, and if the men are out plowing or sanding the streets, they won't be out here taking care of it. I just want to make you
That
aware
was
of the account.
550 plus the 336, right?
Or 1,900 for the whole
1900.
It's
1,900 plus,
plus 6, which is 25 something.
yeah.
building.
I'm saying, if you want the front done with the soffits, eaves, and the gutters, it's gonna be something like 800 to 900.
$900.
Just making you aware of the two accounts that you would have funds to do it.
Well, this is what I was waiting for to see if, because I usually look at you to see if we have money. And I didn't look at you to see, because I usually do that. What we don't want to do is cut ourselves short. This is really not a big line item for our village budget. And I'm the one that actually asked them to go get prices on this, because I really wanted to have the soffits and the facial done, and the facial work and everything done.
But that
So-
was, we only have one quote on this, correct?
And
Well, I
again,
thought I was doing just something for a budget. Yeah, I can chase around and get some more. It's like pulling teeth sometimes to get people to come out and give you quotes.
it's hard to get people to do the work when you got money. It should round up again, and that's why I said the salt and stuff. And we're talking about a safety issue again. That was my concern with having the village crew and whoever put salt and stuff out. We not only have the village entrance here, but we also have court. And I actually think that court was probably the instigator of the whole thing.
They have court when we're not here.
Right.
And it's also when the water drips down and freezes, and you may not be right around. One of our neighbors had this company do some work, by the way, I just reminded. And they do excellent work. It's up to you.
Well, we know it has to be done. I mean, you know, my thing was I knew we had to do it. Probably if I'd looked to my right a little sooner, maybe we could have brought this up.
Well,
As you heard from the treasurer, we do have the funding to do it.
yeah, if we can find the money to do it, I'm saying we shouldn't have to go there twice, we should do the whole thing.
If you're gonna do it, do it. Once the stuff is all here, the scaffolding's all here, and everything is all here. Well, there again will be a vote. We brought this up, and it is for a safety issue. Apparently, and Robert is saying, and it's right, they're not here all the time when we do have a problem. And our treasurer says that we do have the funding to do this. So I'd like to take a vote on this, to have this done, if at all, for just safety purposes.
I say yes, because safety comes first, and a lawsuit will,
Proceed.
Yes, exactly right. $1,900 is just a drop in a bucket.
No, it's 25.
$2,500.
You meant 25.
Abstain.
Abstain. Trustee Trombley.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we are gonna go ahead with this.
Part of that motion, you want to transfer the 2,500 from the fund balance to show that we do have.
Right.
And that would go into account 860 and 2024, which is the building account.
With the buildings account, okay. That's not come out of fund balance. Yeah. See, I didn't have to vote again, so I'm not doing my job.
Is that a motion or a vote?
No.
Start doing that.
It could be,
I
you
don't
could also redo it, do the project into the system.
Okay. He abstained.
Yeah.
But,
I would make the motion, somebody would need the second for motion.
motion made to have this facial and soffit work and gutter work done. Motion by trustee McCauley,
Second.
second trustee Trombley. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. You got the vote. Carried. Now, coming with you, be with you in a minute. I ain't never had so many people want to ask me questions. I love it. New business.
Have we heard anything from the village about anything about Ames? No?
See, that's in litigation. That has to be sold before anybody will even,
And Kamala doesn't own that building?
No.
Ames owns the building. So whoever buys that out of litigation or whatever will probably be the one. I'm not saying that that may not happen down here, but as of now, that's all tied up in the books.
So it's
I've been asked.
It's gonna take quite a while.
Yes, it is. Before we hear anything out of that. One more thing and I'll be with you.
He won't forget you.
I won't forget you. Presentation of our warrant tonight. This is the part where we get to pay our bills. Yeah.
We watch.
Want me to pay your bills too?
Okay, guys.
Just this evening, are we just gonna add the purchase record? Oh, you need some more. Okay.
And our bill from NICEAG for electricity in the amount of $1,046.34. And the second bill from NICEAG in the amount of $33.33. I have a bill here from Dave's Performance Center in the amount of $105.04. And someone to tell us what quantity or
Are we
something.
souping up our trucks?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, one of these is a engine block heater and the other two are Not entirely sure what that one is. Yeah, I think it is a thermostat. No, I just wish they'd make them clearer. I wouldn't be too worked up.
Want to hold it, or?
No. I'm sure it's probably still around a thermostat or something for vehicles.
We have an emergency repair, we have a bill through Wells Communications in the amount of $197.70.
That's for the face of the portable radio. You don't fix them, they leak water and destroy the whole room.
We have a bill for Boise Cascade Office Products in the amount of $305.66. And for various office supplies and papers, copy paper. And that's all I have.
So you're asking for $1,687.07 to be added to our warrant tonight. 88. I missed the one. See, my math isn't very good either. Yeah, I should have a calculator.
Yes, you should.
So I'd like to have a motion to add $1,688.07 to our warrant this evening.
Make that motion.
Motion trustee Short, second trustee Connor, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Now I need a motion to pay.
Who said me? Can we vote too?
Do I have a motion to pay the warrant this evening? Motion to pay the warrant, trustee Connor, second trustee Short, all in favor? Aye. Now, is there any other business to come before this board this evening? I'll owe you one.
Okay.
Yes.
When you asked like all in favor, why did he say like
So moved.
abstain?
Abstain?
Because
He doesn't really agree.
I don't agree, and I don't feel I have enough information or had enough time to really think about it, to make a
Okay.
decision.
To make a decision.
So he's not really saying no, but he's not really saying yes.
Oh, okay. He's not really saying no.
He's not really saying anything, right? Is that what you want?
He's saying what you said maybe.
So yes, Ken?
I have a question for these fellas here. They all need to write a report, and also they're going to need to describe to their troop what they heard tonight. And some of these fellas might find it to their advantage, for instance, to use the public access channel, maybe to augment their notes a little bit. And I was wondering if you knew when it was going to be aired.
Can't answer that question.
Don't know yet?
Puts it on when he puts it on.
Okay,
See, that's
And
where
he
we
puts
end
it
up
on
with
when I make the copy and get this to him.
Right.
gotcha.
So one of the most important things, I would open the floor up, but I would probably be bombarded again. Look at this. One little hand just sticks up. Two hands. No, you know what I'm gonna do? I would like to have a motion for adjournment.
We're getting vote? Yeah, that was
Motion for adjournment.